Welcome back to Garrett Hunts. Today we're going to continue prepping for the 2020 fishing season, and we're going to talk about what color lures to use and when to use them. Let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about topwater fishing on clear water. When fishing topwater, it's generally a good rule of thumb to use something that can make noise and attract the fish's attention. Poppers are an oldest time lure that do just that. Use a quick jerking motion as you reel them in to create a popping noise and splash some water around to make your lure's presence known. Buzzbaits are fairly new, but the concept isn't. The rotating blade creates a loud buzz or churring noise as you reel it in over the water, making it hard for any fish or nearby angler to miss. Generally, when fishing in clear water, you want to use the sun to your advantage and use reflective colors like silver and gold, but when fishing topwater, it doesn't matter quite as much. You'll want to use a lure that has a brighter color scheme to it, but nothing that's going to be too flashy or fluorescent. The buzzbait I have displayed for you right now has some bright oranges and yellows in it, but also a little bit of blacks and browns to help neutralize the overall color scheme of the lure. The popper I have also displayed on the screen follows the same rule of thumb. The bottom of the lure that gets submerged is gold to help reflect sunlight, while the black on top helps to again neutralize the overall coloring of the lure. Now we're going to talk about topwater fishing in murky waters. The same rule of thumb applies here in that you want to use a lure that creates noise. However, the part that differs here will be what color scheme you should use. In murky waters, you'll want to use very dark colored lures, preferably black, but a dark solid red, brown, or blue can work as well. When the water gets murky after a big storm, the dark contrast helps the fish to see the shape of the lure. On the screen right now I have another popper and buzzbait just like I did before. These exact lures have both provided me with excellent luck fishing after a storm, as it spikes the curiosity in a hungry fish. Last but not least, for topwater fishing, we'll talk about weedy waters. With little to no surprise, it becomes harder for both you and the fish to see when a pond is filled up with weeds and lily pads. That being said, your best bet is to use a two-toned lure with at least one bright color. While the fish may not be able to see the lure in its entirety, they will be able to see the contrast of color the lure provides, and this will raise their interest. It also goes without saying that in weedy areas, it's nice to use a weedless lure. And when it comes to weedless lures, few are as good as frogs in my opinion. The long tails on them help to create extra motion and noise in the water, while the coloration of these lures will be what ultimately draws in the fish. A lot of fish like to hide in lily pads, and a lot of fish like to eat frogs. Make sure you've got a few of these in your tackle box this year. Now we're going to move into subsurface fishing, or mid-level as some of you call it. Just like before, we'll start off with clear water conditions. As I said earlier, when the water is clear, you want to use the sun to your advantage and pick a lure that will reflect the light well. Gold and silver usually do the trick best. When fishing mid-level, your best bets in clear water will be spinnerbaits and crankbaits. The more reflective they are, the better. On the screen right now is my last remaining spinnerbait and a bright shiny crankbait. Both of these lures have given me tremendous luck over the years when I'm not fishing topwater, and they'll give you that same luck this year as well. Any fisherman knows how easy both of these lures are to find, and I'm sure you already have plenty of them in your tackle box ready to go. So be sure to use the right lure for the right job, and always take advantage of the extra light from the sun to help you outfish your friends. Now let's move on to sub-level fishing in murky water. As I said the first time we talked about murky waters today, you'll want to use a dark colored lure to help attract the fish to the shape that your lure presents. Going sub-level now though, it doesn't hurt to have a slight shimmer to your lure or bait. I tend to have my best luck still using crankbaits and also using curly-tail grubs, and as you can tell, I tend to favor purple lures more. They're dark enough to create a visible shape difference in the water and have just enough sparkle to them that they can hopefully catch a little bit of sunlight to reflect. I do recommend sticking with a lure that isn't overly bright though, as it will tend to just blend in with the water and most fish won't notice it unless they're already near it. The crankbait on the screen right now has been my tried and true northern lure for the past 4 years, and it breaks my heart to say it has been discontinued. The grub worms, however, tend to always find their way into my videos and are probably one of the easiest lures to find. You may not have to stick with purple, but definitely stay with a dark color scheme to better your odds. And finally, before moving on to bottom water fishing, let's talk about sub-level fishing in algae-filled and weedy areas. Earlier in the video, I had mentioned that having two-toned lures will work best to catch the attention of the fish in weedy areas. That is still true, but we're also going to add on to that by using inline spinners that are primarily silver and gold. The two-tone still works for the exact same reason it did earlier. The fish will notice the contrast in color that your lure provides. The bright colored spinners will also work now due to how much light they reflect and how much control you have over the speed of them. If you're looking for bigger fish like northern or walleye, then the lipless crankbait will work better for you and definitely help to move them out of those weedy areas and after your lure. If you're pan fishing or just looking to catch fish in general, then you really can't go wrong with an inline spinner no matter where you're fishing. Both of these lures are something you'll want to have in your tackle box regardless of where you fish or what you fish. But if you're spending a lot of time near weeds, then these are a must-have for you this season. And last, but certainly not least, we're going to talk about bottom water fishing. It's fairly similar across the board, so I'm going to wrap them all up in one segment. No matter the condition, you really can't go wrong with two-toned plastics. You can definitely stretch that rule a little though, depending on how deep or how clear the water is. I personally like to use warm-colored crawdads like the ones on the screen. It's dark enough to show its shape in low visibility conditions, and most plastics usually have some form of glitter or shine to them that will help reflect any light it can. Despite whatever area I'm fishing in, I always like to use a Texas rig to keep weeds off my hooks and lures. They also do a great job of getting solid hookups with any fish. Tubes, curly tails, and just about any other plastic will work for bottom fishing as well, but take the time to study up on different rigging techniques and know which ones will work best for you. Well, that's going to do it for today's video, and if you want to see any of these lures in action, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Also like and comment, let me know what you guys want to see in future videos. We got a lot of content coming your way as soon as the snow melts over and we're able to get out on the water. But until next time guys, good luck fishing.